welcome the woman who the Washington Post called a rising star and who was named in 2008 as Best in Congress by Working Mother magazine, Minnesota's senior senator, Senator Amy Klobuchar.
Exciting to be here with all of you. What a great day to celebrate, and you look so good out there, I gotta tell you. And I'm so glad I'm here with you instead of at the fishing opener, okay? I mean, everyone in Minnesota loves to fish. I love to fish, but when I got invited to do this, I'm like, I gotta be here. So it's great to see a great leader and president, Phil Davis, Lois Bowman, who's the Vice President for Academic and Student Affairs, Scott Erickson, the Vice President for Finance, and Louise Sundin, a friend of mine, with the Mctc Board of Trustees. And finally, I want to honor all your friends and family that are out there today who have stood with all of you throughout your education. Now, I heard the tail end of you guys coming in, and I love the graduation, because I always love graduation music, you know, the song. And what it always reminds me of, I never forget it, is my most memorable moment when I had that kind of grand music. Not my wedding, but when I was at the White House for the first time, and I was invited by then President Clinton to introduce a crime bill with him. I was the county attorney. I'd never been to the White House, not even on a tour. And I'm standing there outside of the East Room with the president on one side, we're ready to walk in, the attorney general on the other. They're both really tall, right? And I'm pretty nervous, and the military band starts playing Hail to the Chief, you know, do, 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 that song. And I just start walking just like a graduate, like you guys did. And all of a sudden I feel this big hand on my shoulder, and this voice goes, I know you're gonna do great out there, but when they play that song, I usually go first. I'm not kidding. That really happened to me. So anything, if you trip, if you fall, if anything goes wrong, it'll be better than that, okay? You know, Minneapolis Community and Technical College is so much more than a learning institution. It's a place where characters are built, right? Minds are expanded, new careers are found, perspectives are enriched, and innovation is unleashed. I've always believed that our state's strength comes from our people, from our talents, from our experience. And Phil mentioned why I'm that I'm a fan of community colleges, and of course I'm a fan because I see this as a future as we go forward, as we have a changing job environment, that we want to make sure that students have skills that match where we need to go. But the other piece about it is deep in my heart, because my dad actually went in the Army, and when he went to college, it was at a community college in Vermillion, Ely, Minnesota, and he got his 2-year degree. And then he actually headed to the University of Minnesota. Or my sister, who never graduated from high school, she had a lot of hard times in her life, and she moved down to Iowa, and years later, she went to a community college in Iowa. So I've seen both sides of it and how much difference it can make in people's lives. MCTC is a shining example of how we're going to prepare for the future. You have students pursuing fields like nursing, accounting, special education, right alongside students in computer networks, creative writing, criminal justice. Youth graduates out there include veterans who have served our country. You are young people who are first members of your family to ever attend college. You are moms and dads who are juggling the duties of parenthood and the demands of a busy course load, and I've even been told there are a few grandparents out there. Oh, there they are! So no matter who you are, no matter where you come from, no matter what you are going to do, I know you're going to do great things, and everyone in this room is so proud of you for graduating. I think you all know that we are living in challenging times, and history is going to look back at this time and decide whether you and I were right or wrong, whether we were timid or courageous, and I just feel a lot of courage in this room. So my one message to you is never sell yourself short. Be courageous, because you never know where you're going to end up. Look at me, I never thought I was going to be standing here today as your United States Senator. My grandpa so that he could send my dad to college. My dad, as I mentioned, went to community college, went on to be a newspaperman. My mom taught second grade until she was 70 years old. So I stand before you today as the granddaughter of an iron ore miner and the daughter of a newspaperman, community college graduate, and a teacher, and the first woman ever elected from Minnesota, the United States Senate. Now, the only other little thing I would add is to make sure that wherever you're going next after this great day of celebration, to take your next job or your next degree that you get seriously. I can tell you my first job was as a car hop at the A&W repair stand. True story. And back then they made us wear a t-shirt that said, "Take home a jug of fun." True story. They luckily don't make you do that anymore. I then went on to Baker's Square Pie Shop where I was a waitress. My career came to an abrupt end when I spilled 12 iced teas on one customer. That was when I decided to go to law school. But the most interesting story was that my first job in Washington was actually as an intern for then Vice President Mondale. And my job for an entire month was to take the furniture inventory. I had to crawl under the desks and the tables and the chairs and write down all the numbers for him and all of his staff. And I can tell you years and years later, he's an honest guy. Not one thing was missing. But the second thing was that that was my first job in Washington, and this was my second. So whatever job you're given, no matter if you think I can do better than this, do it well, because it might make a difference. Now, as I mentioned before, the challenges that all of you are going to face out there in the work world are significant. You, through your lives, are going to be called upon to shape America into a country that is once again fiscally sound, that is energy independent, that is a leader in healthcare and innovation, and that will always keep the door open to opportunity. Now, meeting these challenges is going to take leadership, and it will take courage to trust your own instincts, to ask tough questions, something you've learned here at MCTC. But it's also going to take a shift in our country. And I believe Minnesota's gotten it right. We always believe that we need to be a country that makes stuff, where people go into careers where they're helping people, where they're not just churning money on Wall Street. We in our state is a state that brought the world everything from the pacemaker to the Post-it note. So I truly believe we can no longer afford to be a country that just shuffles paper and consumes and imports. We need to be a nation that thinks again, that invents stuff, that makes things, a country that exports to the world. In the words of Tom Friedman, who's from Minnesota and he writes for the New York Times, we need to do nation building in our own nation, and you are going to be a big part of this. It means an education system that builds on the outstanding learning that takes place here at MCTC, a system that is capable of training the innovators, entrepreneurs, and global leaders of tomorrow. It means that we're going to have to focus more on exporting to the rest of the world, that we'll be tolerant of other cultures, that we will look back at some of our own rules and regulations and see which ones we need to keep and which ones we can maybe change, all geared at making sure our country is competitive and compete in the world market. And I will end with this about Washington. It's not an easy place to be right now, right? And what really bothers me is when people just stand in the opposite corners of the boxing ring, throwing darts at each other and playing politics. We can't afford to do that anymore, and you can't afford to do that. So I ask you as you go out there to not only help us through this by going to work and things that you love to do, but also to participate as a citizen, to learn about what's going on, to talk about what's going on, to be willing to talk to people that have different views. And if you always watch one TV show, to maybe watch another one to get the news, so you get different perspectives on what's happening. Last, I would like to invite everyone here and your great families and friends who've gotten you here. Just like me, you've got those grandparents that valued education. You have those parents. You have husbands and wives and sisters and brothers, and you're standing on their shoulders today. They were there for you.